Last year, 41 teenage girls perished in a fire in a Guatemalan children's home. The tragedy exposed a shocking crisis in child protection. Our World, Guatemala after the fire. Tonight, 9:30 p.m. on the BBC News Channel.
Questions over how the government will pay for a 70th birthday funding boost for the NHS. The Prime Minister says the health service in England will get an extra £20 billion a year by 2023.
That will be through the Brexit dividend, the fact that we're no longer sending vast amounts of money every year to the EU once we leave the EU, and we as a country will be contributing a bit more.
We'll be exploring both what that bit more might mean and whether there'll be a Brexit dividend. Also this evening, hundreds of migrants picked up off the coast of Libya arrive in the Spanish port of Valencia. Good evening. Theresa May has announced a funding boost for the NHS in England, saying it'll receive an extra £20 billion a year by 2023. It'll be partly paid for by what would have been future contributions to the EU budget. But she's being urged to clarify exactly where the money will come from, given uncertainty over whether there'll be any extra funds available to the government at that time. The Prime Minister has also left open the suggestion of more taxation, saying the country would contribute more to the NHS. Here's our health editor, Hugh Pym.
Much more World Cup news on the BBC Sports website, but from Moscow, that's all for now. Mishal.
Ollie, thank you very much. And that's it from us. We're back with the late news at 10. Now on BBC One, time for the news. Where you are. Goodbye.
Can I have a pint of milk and 3 packets of Brexit, please?
The next train is the 11:15 calling at Peterborough, Brexit and Darlington.
Do you want Brexit with that?
Right, you've got the tickets and the passports. Did I pack the Brexits?
Brexit, not just politics, it's everyday life. Find out what it'll mean for you with BBC News.
When I grow up, I want to be a striker, fly half, goal shooter, jammer, break woman, point guard, sweeper, flyweight champion.
We're inspiring the next generation of female athletes with an additional 500 hours of women's sports across the BBC.
8 minutes ago, a sunbeam struck out into the vast vacuum of space. It did not bounce off course as so many others do. It was not absorbed. When it reached our atmosphere, it continued unfazed. This particular sunbeam came to you. And you were ready for it. To know what's coming, check the BBC weather app.
For most of us, it was quite a fresh, cloudy weekend, but things are set to warm up, particularly across the south of the country in the coming days, perhaps even turning a little too hot for some of us. In the north, however, we will retain the cool weather and also occasional rain. Let's have a look at the satellite picture because there's still a lot of cloud across the UK. It's been streaming in off the Atlantic during the course of the day. Looks as though the skies are going to clear temporarily during the course of the night across some western areas of the UK. So here it is, early hours of Monday morning. We start to see the skies clearing across Scotland, northern England, Wales down into the southwest, probably remaining cloudy all through the night across the southeast of England and also East Anglia. Quite mild, 15 in the south, closer to 10 in the north. And then tomorrow starts off quite sunny again, and then later in the day we'll see clouds increasing from the west once more. In fact, the cloud could be thick enough to give a little bit of drizzle here and there. But the temperatures will be significantly higher across England and Wales, mid-20s in the southeast, into the 20s across Yorkshire, but remaining fresh across northern Britain. And the reason why we're going to see a big contrast between the north and the south is because the air will never reach, as you can see, northern areas. It just kind of takes a detour, moves across England and Wales, and then out into the continent. And on the northern edge of this warm air, we have a weather front. So additionally, it'll also turn wet potentially on Tuesday across parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland. So to the south of this weather front here, this is where the warm air is across England and Wales. Temperatures at least to around 25 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. So midweek, we see that weather front moving away, and behind this weather front here, we still have fresh air. So that means that Scotland and Northern Ireland remain in the fresh air on Wednesday, but there will be some sunshine around in the Western Isles, certainly for Glasgow and Belfast, sun in the forecast too. And then looks as though it may cool off just a fraction across northern parts of England as well. So that heat slips a little bit further towards the south into the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast. So perhaps the high teens in the north of England on Wednesday, but possibly 27 in London and Norwich. Towards the end of the week, high pressure establishes itself across the UK, so we are talking about mostly dry weather.
Up next, all the latest national and international stories. Then at 7:30, join Sports Day for all the day's sports news.
There are many movies out at the moment that are claiming to be comedies. This beats all of them. And on the one hand, it's a political tale. On the other hand, it is magic, realist fable. It is baggy and overlong. You can either just see it as a really good popcorn adventure or as something much deeper. That's what a proper cult movie looks like. My problem with it is I wanted it to be darker. The script is laughable, but not in a good way. It's just proved so divisive. I was reminded of the friendship between Elliot and E.T. Every time anyone says mockumentary, immediately you think, is it as good as Spinal Tap? The answer is no. Very smartly reinvented a franchise, and who thought that was possible? It does the thing that cinema is meant to do at its very best, to completely immerse you, to transport you, to take you to another world.
Words of Wisdom, the film review, available now on BBC iPlayer.
This is BBC News. I'm Lekwasa Burak. The headlines at 7. Theresa May promises a £20 billion a year in real terms increase to the NHS in England by 2023. Labour says it's not enough.
We're making the NHS our priority. We're putting this significant amount of extra money into it. We need to make sure that money is spent wisely.
We're saying you can go further, and if the government made the taxation changes we're prepared to make, you could be giving even more to the NHS. So Labour will be spending more on the NHS than the Tories.
Hundreds of migrants who were rescued off the coast of Libya 8 days ago arrive in Spain. Experts warn the Glasgow School of Art may have to be demolished after being gutted by fire. Good evening and welcome to BBC News. Theresa May has announced a funding boost for the NHS in England, saying it'll receive an extra £20 billion a year.